Welcome to Consumers Beverages Beer Show. I'm Kim Piazza. On today's episode, we'll take you to some great local watering holes, explore some of the early history of Western New York brewing, and you might learn a few things you might not have known about beer. Our first stop today takes us into the heart of the city of Buffalo, where three friends got together to start something special and pursue a shared passion. Let's head over to Mortalis Brewing Company on Niagara Street, the home of Illumination Meadery.
Sam and Kevin and myself are the three owners. We got involved. We all kind of met through a mutual friend. We would do beer shares at a friend's house. He has an awesome finished basement, and we'd all kind of meet together and share. And we kind of all met organically through going to events around local beer events around the area, beer bars, breweries. And our group kind of grew and got bigger and bigger. And Kevin and Sam eventually got added into that group. And we'd all tried meat separately on our own other places, and we really liked it. So Kevin and myself one year, I think it was 2021, we went down to Tampa Bay Beer Week, which is like a mecca for beer events. And there was a meadery that just opened up there. And the owner let us in. It was like a soft opening for members only, and he let us in, and we got to talking to him. And he actually worked in insurance before he opened his meadery, which ironically all three of us also do. So he kind of told us about his journey, and we're like, we're doing the same thing this guy used to do. If he can make mead, we love mead. Why don't we try this?
We all got together and made some 1-gallon batches. Took it around to friends. Of course, friends said they liked it, so we took it around to some other mead makers and brewers locally. And they really liked it, so we're like, okay, we might have something here. And so we upped it to a 5-gallon system, kept making it. People kept liking it, so about, and I can't keep the timeline straight, but everything's hurry up and wait, but eventually just decided that, yeah, this is something that we can actually make a go at. And that, so we got our production space here, started making bottles, and were able to finally get into stores and landed our partnership with Mortalis, and here we are. Right now, for what we're doing, we're with the partnership with Mortalis. We have eight tap lines ready to go. 3 of which are going to be our session meads. So those are going to be your lower alcohol, like carbonated meads. They sort of pour more like a sour beer. And then the other 5 are going to be our still meads. So that's where you're going to have our more heavier alcohol, higher fruited. We're going to have like a fruited mead, a methylglyn, which is going to be more like, has like herbs and spices type of thing going. And we're also going to have bottles for sale as well. So we plan to keep that kind of output going and for as long as possible.
There's kind of a couple categories. There's a sizer, which is honey and apples. There's a melomel, which is going to be honey and fruit. There's a methylglyn, which is going to be honey and spices, and then traditional, which is just your honey fermented. So those are kind of the big categories we'll work with. And then we want to do barrel aging. So we have 2 barrel aged meads on right now on tap. We have 3 in bottles currently to go, and then we have some cool barrel aging projects as well. So using unique barrels like apple brandy barrels, gin barrels, Krupnik barrels. So we just want to make some unique stuff that no one else has had before. And a big thing that we want to push is that we're gluten-free. That's a huge plus with us. No gluten-containing products enter our facility. So if you have, I have a gluten sensitivity myself, which is why I kind of gravitated towards mead a little bit. I love beer, but beer doesn't love me. So mead has been great for me, and yeah, all gluten-free. Our friend was going to pick up a bottle for a bottle release at Mortalis, and he kind of called me while he was driving over to Rochester and said, why don't we ask them? Like, you don't know Buffalo Tap Room, like, why don't we see if they want to work with us? So we kind of had a meeting with them, talked about the space, kind of talked about the agreement, and they immediately came out and saw it and loved it. They did a great job renovating it. It's gorgeous in here now. But we'll always have 8 meads on tap here, and then they have their 16 beers on tap, all bottles in the cooler. So it was a really cool arrangement. We're super happy to be working with them. I mean, that to have our product next to their product, which is well-renowned and so high quality, it says a lot about what they think about our product. So we're really grateful for them, for them to working with us, and yeah, hope people want to come check it out.
India Pale Ales, or IPAs, were first developed when English brewers in the 1800s were trying to export their ales to India. The journey by sea would take too long and the beer would spoil. Extra hops were added, and the IPA was born, quickly becoming a favorite drink in early 19th century England.
Welcome back to the Consumers Beverages Beer Show. Brewing beer wasn't always as streamlined as it is today. Now we'll sit down with local beer historian John Ice, who can tell us more about some of the early innovations that changed the way brewing happens.
The first huge innovation in brewing, of course, was refrigeration. Before refrigeration, you had to make your beer local, because you couldn't ship it very well anywhere and if it couldn't kept cold. It wasn't pasteurized, so it would go bad. So you basically had to, bring it somewhere and then drink it. Maybe not that quickly, but reasonably so. So you couldn't ship it like from here to Chicago. It didn't really work well. And so refrigeration changed all that. And once that happened, some of the larger breweries like Anheuser-Busch and that sort of thing could ship beer all over the place. And once they did that, they could compete as they do today, the business do today. If I can sell a cheaper product and, I can get your business, and that's what happened. That put many, many breweries out of business when that happened. It started around 1890. They had refrigeration before that, but it really got big by around 1890, and that kind of really changed things in the brewing industry and dropped the number of breweries way down from when they were, like on every street corner. And so what happened in Buffalo was we ended up, after Prohibition, probably in 1933, as a result of that and other consolidation measures that went on, our own breweries buying up each other, there's probably only, I think, like 8 or 9 breweries that were really operating in Buffalo. Yeah, initially here in Buffalo, which was kind of like not in the mainstream, like places like Philadelphia and New York City were and that sort of thing. The beer that was produced here was in kegs and was not bottled. It didn't really start getting bottled till after the canal was built, and we had been here for another 10 years, and the canal made a lot of people wealthy in Buffalo, as you can look at Delaware Avenue mansions and get an idea. And so they could afford to buy beer in bottles and have it bottled, and then the bottles would be returned afterward. But Buffalo's first bottler was a gentleman by the name of Sidney Burr, B-U-R-R, and he was right at Exchange Street. He was on Seneca Street and Washington, just about on the corner there. And he bottled, beer and pop and soda, that type of thing. But the earliest bottle we know of in Buffalo was a stoneware, not a stoneware bottle, but an earthenware bottle from S. Burr on there. And we think that's the first bottle that's ever been used, that was used in Buffalo for bottling beer. And then later on, of course, they got glass bottles, and then they started bottling it. The first beer was probably bottled in that earthenware bottle at 1842, 43, somewhere in there. Before that, we didn't really bottle much in Buffalo at all. The Pan American Exposition in 1901, we have all these breweries in Buffalo, and there were some pretty big, well-known breweries at the time, Lang's and Iroquois, and the interesting thing is that the official brewery of the 1901 exposition was Pabst, which is now Pabst Blue Ribbon, or it's out now, but I think they're making it again. But yeah, and beer was sold in different areas that wasn't Pabst, local beer, but the official brewing beer of the exposition was Pabst out of town from Milwaukee.
Great local beer doesn't always have to be enjoyed at home or at a bar. For our next stop, we traveled to the O'Connell and Company Theater in Amherst, where I sat down for a special chat with some very special girls. It is such a privilege today for the Consumers Beverages Beer Show to sit down with Rose Nyland. Hello, Rose.
Hello, Kim. It's so nice to be back here in Buffalo.
Rose from the Golden Girls. How are you?
I'm doing great. We're Buffalo's original Golden Girls, and we are at O'Connell & Company at 4110 Bailey Avenue in Amherst for a limited run of our new show.
How long will you be here?
3 weekends, and it's Golden Girls, The Lost Episodes, Volume 4. Be Afraid, the Halloween edition.
Be afraid, be very afraid. And of course, you've got all kinds of fun Halloween-themed things
Absolutely.
for your audience to come and partake in the fun. Also, we did, kind of rut through your refrigerator, Miss Rose, and we found 2 things. Upstate New York beer and cheesecake.
Always cheesecake from Just Say Cheesecake.
And let's see, we've got, Big Ditch. Big Ditch?
That's Dorothy's favorite beer.
Big
because
Ditch.
she's a big ditch.
Oh dear. And let's see, what do we have? Ellicottville Blueberry Wheat Ale. Who's the blueberry?
That is my favorite. It reminds me of back in St. Olaf, there was a beer called Geflugenfragenhugen beer. And it tastes just like it if you hold your breath.
Well, that's really good to know. And then we've got Flow Rider.
Oh, that one's for Blanche, of course. It goes down very easy.
Okay, well, that all makes perfect sense. And of course, when your audience in upstate New York comes to see you, Miss Golden Girl, here at O'Connell & Company, you're always happy to meet them out front in the bar and share a beverage.
Absolutely. We're always out there to make new friends.
That's great. And this is a wonderful set. So did you have all of this shipped up from Florida?
We did. It all came right from Miami. We had somebody reproduce our kitchen and our living room, and here we are for our friends in Buffalo.
Well, Buffalo, what can I say? Golden Girls, O'Connell & Company, alcoholic beverage, specifically beer. It's a win-win.
And it all pairs with cheesecake.
And it all pairs with cheesecake. Thank you so much, Rose. And remember, Dorothy's favorite beer is?
Big Ditch.
So, Rose, you're a good girl. I mean, as far as the Golden Girls go, you're a good girl.
Well, in this show, we're maybe not always good girls.
Ooh, okay. So I thought I heard a rumor that this show is 18 and older?
It is, because it's a little naughty. It's the lost episodes. It's the stuff that we couldn't put on the air. So it was the other little secrets that happened backstage.
Oh, nice. So kind of like, I don't know, extra fun, extra funny?
Absolutely, 100%.
Sophia, Rose, and Dorothy. I understand Blanche had a little accident. Do you need maybe a stand-in?
Cheers to New Blanche.
Salute! So, what do I have to do for the show? Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more of the Consumers Beverages Beer Show. But first, here's another fun fact about beer you might not have known.
Did you know that different beers should be served at different temperatures? Lagers and Pilsners taste great around 40 degrees Fahrenheit, whereas stouts can be served around 55 degrees. Other British ales, high-gravity barley wines, and bocks will really open up if served just slightly chilled, somewhat closer to room temperature.
Welcome back to the Consumers Beverages Beer Show. Now we'll visit with a local veteran-owned company who's made good use of unused fire trucks to build morale across Western New York. Let's take a closer look at 13 Monkeys Whiskey.
The reason that we started 13 Monkeys All-American Whiskey is for my best friend, Staff Sergeant Christopher Dill. Dill, last name Irish, is also a firefighter, so why not put whiskey on a fire truck? 13 Monkeys All-American Whiskey, it's a 5-year bourbon mash, veteran-owned company out of Buffalo. On April 4th, 2005, my best friend, Staff Sergeant Christopher Dill, was killed in action while we were in Iraq. The date that he died, 4/4/05, adds up to 13. He was a Buffalo firefighter, I was a police officer. Together we were in the military, which all three professions wear logos on their uniforms. He was an avid gambler, he used to bet on 13. My name's Jason, dealt with Friday the 13th my whole life. Whole side of the bottle has all the symbolism and meaning behind the logo that's on front of the bottle. We got both fire trucks that we do. We use in parades, we use all different things through the holidays, Veterans Day, Memorial Day, St. Patty's Day, Dingus Day. Bring out a bunch of people that want to support, first responders, veterans, local nonprofit, our whiskey, things like that. So we take them out and have a good time with the fire trucks. So I started KIA Memorial Road March as a way to honor my best friend, Staff Sergeant Christopher Dill, that was killed in action while we were in Iraq. So I wanted to do something to help out, and over the last 11 years, we've raised 370,000 pounds of food for local veterans. And we've done a lot of things for military units and things like that. So, and as it came out, I ended up meeting somebody that actually helped out with the mission for KIA and 13 Monkeys, and everything kind of intertwined from that.
In the military, we did a lot of fun logistic things and acquired large military items. Well, I did that overseas for my job. Now I got a chance to do it with KIA. I ended up buying a fire truck at a Girl Scout meeting. We'll talk to the fire chief. But with KIA, which is on my shirt here, Jay started a liquor company, a whiskey company, 13 Monkeys. And now being a part of that helps fund KIA. It also helps boost morale when we're doing events.
What ended up happening was during the shutdown, we actually had a unit that needed some particular help, and Joe Maluski came to me and asked if it was possible if I can help out with their unit's Christmas party. Government didn't have any money for the soldiers and their families to have their annual Christmas party, and that's when KIA actually stepped in and said, yeah, we'll take care of them. We got ham dinners, we got Christmas presents for the kids, we brought Santa Claus, and we bought toys for the kids, and they got to have a picture taken. So it was kind of seamless for the children. The adults understood what we were and what our mission was. And, lo and behold, Joe also had a fire truck outside that was taking kids around with Santa Claus on a little roundabout there. So, meeting of the minds kind of got together and started using the truck for KIA, which the truck was named the Morale Response Vehicle, which was appropriate, let's boost morale in the neighborhoods and everything like that. Then, coupled with a whiskey company that was on the back burner, it came to fruition, and lo and behold, we got a fire truck, and now we have 2 fire trucks that boost morale with some alcohol on them, and we go to local bars, restaurants, and help out at the Road March and a couple other events that KIA does throughout the year. So we're in about 40 different liquor stores, 40 different bars and restaurants, Buffalo Chop House. They make their Manhattans out of it. We're in Vice, we're in Neat, we're in a bunch of local bars, Ebenezer, Ale House. You can go on our website and look at all the different restaurants and liquor stores that we're in.
On our last stop today, we check in again with local beer historian John Ice, who can tell us more about how Buffalo became one of the biggest commercial brewing cities in the 1800s and an industry leader for generations to come.
I have always been interested in Buffalo's brewing history, which is a slice of Buffalo's history. So you can learn a lot about the Niagara Frontier in Buffalo just by going through that slice of history that involves brewing, because it was such a large part of our history. I think there were 2 main causes of this, and one was having the canal and the Great Lakes here. All the grain that was coming from out west came to Buffalo, and as you see from the terminals and the storing facilities in Buffalo that still exist today, that a large portion of that grain was used for brewing here. And the second reason was, why would you sell it? Well, there must have been people here that liked to drink beer, and so many Alsatian and Germanic people settled in this area, and they were brought up on drinking beer. brewing on the Niagara frontier basically started in Batavia. And when I talk about brewing, I'm talking about commercial brewing. And there was a brewery in Batavia starting in 1810. And then followed was another brewery that started in Black Rock in 1811, and that was Joseph Webb's brewery. And the unfortunate part for Joseph Webb was he started his brewery a year before the British came and burnt Black Rock down and Buffalo down, so obviously his brewery was destroyed then. And he actually petitioned the government, his family petitioned the government of the United States for reimbursement, and it never came through, but he gave it a shot. First brewery in Buffalo was by a gentleman by the name of Tunnicliffe, Thomas Tunnicliffe, who started sometime prior, maybe right around 1816. And it was right on Washington Street, just a couple of doors down from Exchange in Washington, kind of north of there. And he was first, and then it continued along with more and more breweries picking up as the demand for beer kept picking up in Buffalo. And we ended up with about 270 different commercial brewing operations in Buffalo through its history. And it actually was only at 90 different locations, but there were that many different brewing operations, companies that ran breweries. The largest year I could find was Erie County in 1867, had 58 breweries in operation at that time. That's a pretty good number. Now some of those were small, parts of taverns, kind of brew pub idea back then. Some of them were quite large, like Mangus Beck's brewery. And he produced the most beer in Buffalo back in 1867. This continued through, and we kept consolidating breweries in the 1880s, and they went to selling stock in the breweries, that sort of thing, and the number of breweries decreased greatly because of the same thing, a consolidation. The last breweries to close in Buffalo was Iroquois Brewery, which I'm sure everybody remembers, from 1971, and then the last brewery to close in Buffalo was a Simon Pure Brewery, which closed in 72. And then we had nothing for a very long period of time. And then in 1989, a gentleman decided he was going to try something new, and he actually built and opened and operated the first brew pub in New York State, and that was in 89. And that's the brew pub that's still in operation today on Transit and Broadway, the Buffalo Brew Pub.
To help pay for the U.S. Civil War, Congress imposed a tax on beer. The Revenue Act of 1862, signed into law by President Lincoln, included a tax on all beer, lager, ale, porter, and other similar fermented liquors. It may not be popular, but taxing beer generates billions of dollars each year.
Thanks for watching the Consumers Beverages Beer Show. We'll see you next time.